Now tuning in to Earbud Media. Audio for everyone.
We're cozy because it is chill.
Yes. Sweaters on.
It is sweaters on, wool socks on,
Yes.
heated blankets turned on.
Yes.
We might be getting a little overheated at this point. Maybe remove a layer.
Yeah, maybe that's too many layers.
We don't want to fucking sweat this out. This is not what we're going for.
Gonna be a very toasty honey baked ham in there, with all those layers.
Fuck me. God. The ungodly things I would do for a honey baked ham right now.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Anyways, hello. Welcome to the space. Hope that you are craving honey baked ham on this Monday morning when you are listening to this.
As you should. As anyone should on a Monday morning.
as God intended. Connie, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I have been transfixed and delighted by a very beautiful
honey baked ham agenda
by big ham industries.
If there's one thing I know about you, it is about the big meat industry. Yeah, sure. That you have to spread.
Right, famously a vegetarian who just plays on the gospel of the meat, big meat, and big ham specifically.
Yep, it's the fucking Halloween store. It's Home Depot and that fucking hot dog stand within there, just spreading the gospel of big meat.
Spreading the gospel. No, I have been transfixed and delighted by one of my favorite kinds of internet mysteries. And
please,
if you can see in my doc, in our doc, sorry, excuse me.
Excuse you. Wow.
Sorry.
Wow.
You may recognize this image. Do you recognize this image?
I do. Okay. I do.
So for listeners at home, it is an image you all have probably seen in your life on the internet. And it is from Clickhole, and it's heartbreaking. The worst person you know just made a great point. And it's just
it's a tragic tale.
It's a tragic tale, and this dude, his face is everywhere and has been attached to it, similar to Reductress and all those people that are stock models and stuff. Just that becomes the hit,
Right.
But
fucking every murder on Criminal Minds.
Right.
Just that guy.
That guy. You can picture him, right?
Right.
But someone, Cameron Wilson, tracked down this man and found him.
Finally.
This is what people have been clamoring. This is the things that I love, that I'm weird, little, inconsequential internet celebrities that aren't celebrities, but you just see their face all the time. Who are they? Right?
Who are they? What's their story?
And so this dude, Cameron, went through, worked on this for months and, was just, going through, metadata and, downloading every version of this image he could find and trace it back, talking to Clickhole, and could not find anything. Until one day he gets, he finds this photo on, a niche, Indian site. And he downloads it and it has all the metadata in it, which he's never been able to find before. He finds the photographer, DMs him on Instagram, and it's this dude in, where is it? I think it's...
Was it him Barcelona. The whole time?
No.
The call came from inside the house. He just forgot.
It's this photographer from Barcelona, and he's and he just doesn't understand what he's asking for and what the deal is. And he just kind of gets nowhere with him, and he's okay, this dude Cameron is let me just peruse this guy's Instagram account, see if this guy, there are photos of him on there, whatever. Turns out he's a friend of this photographer, and has him in photos on there, and he finds his account, DMs him, and has this very back and forth, this guy is speaking Spanish, and he's using Google Translate to be I just need to, who are you, and what your story is, and do you even know you're a meme? And he doesn't know. He has no clue.
He doesn't know?
He has no clue. He's just some random guy in Barcelona that got his picture taken by this photographer dude, and it got uploaded to a stock website that Clickhole had access to, right? And has no clue That this is like a
my
huge
God.
thing. And like the whole time he's just like, I don't know what you're asking of me. I think this is kind of silly. I don't know what you're talking about. Goodbye. And that's kind of the extent of it. But it's just beautiful that
Holy
happened.
shit.
And he doesn't even know. He has no clue. I mean, he does now,
Well-
but like he barely even like, it's not affecting his life at all.
Holy shit. So
Yeah.
first of all, Cameron Wilson, a true Scorpio. I don't know this mystery. But like just fully down to clown and is like, I'm going to figure out every part of this mystery. I'm going to connect all the red strings. So
Yes.
amazing, first of all. How do you tell someone who is just a fucking regular Joe, not a Joe Goldberg, obviously,
Yeah.
but just a fucking non-homicidal, well, maybe, Joe, who's like, hey, so for the past like decade or something, every teenager had your meme stored in a fucking folder
Yeah.
of like memes on their laptop.
Like you were in so many like desktop folders across the world,
And millions of people have seen your face, not just on the internet, but like when they went to fucking the Genius Bar to fix someone's laptop and they were like, oh, sorry, that's my meme folder. Here's his face. Like, and this dude just had no idea. He was just living his life and he's like, why are you DMing me in
Yeah.
shitty Google Translate?
Right. Yeah, literally.
Oh
It's-
my God.
It's wild. And also something interesting that's brought up too is that apparently there's a divide on whether or not the guy in the photo is the worst person that made a great point, or the person that heard the worst person he knew made a great point. Apparently that's divisive.
Whoa.
I know.
I always thought it was that he was the worst person.
I thought so too, but apparently a lot of people think that he heard the worst person he knew made a great point, and that was his reaction.
And that's why he looks like he was in fucking Nickelback and he was like staring at the sun.
Yeah, literally.
Oh my God. Damn it. And you can't even ask the original guy, like, what was in your head when you took this photo?
Because it was totally something
he
for totally
doesn't
something
care.
different. Yeah, and he doesn't
Yeah.
care. Yeah.
And he's not even getting paid. This just got fucking uploaded onto a fucking...
I know.
I-
I know.
This matters so much to me. And it doesn't even matter to this guy.
I know.
I mean, it matters to Cameron, but it doesn't matter to Joe Schmo.
Right. It's so tragic.
my
But also
God.
kind of beautiful that someone can be like that recognizable and just be like some regular dude who was blissfully unaware of his likeness being used like day
Yeah.
after day in that same way.
Can you imagine being that offline? Because I really cannot.
God, what a dream. What-
Truly.
Oh man, just
I've seen
vibing in
so many
Barcelona,
people-
just chilling out.
God, fuck. I've seen so many people wearing out that ridiculous red flag meme going on right now.
Oh, it's awful.
And
yeah.
it's the worst thing. And probably by Monday it won't even, people will be like, what are you talking about?
Right.
But so many, I've seen quite a few people using that as like, oh, I'm not on Twitter. Like, oh, I'm not online. And to me, that is the biggest green flag.
Oh god, it's a huge green flag.
It is, because it's like, oh God, what it must be
to not
like
have
to,
worms for brains.
yes, to
Made
not
up of
share one brain
SpongeBob
cell.
and like all fighting each other. So many
Yes.
two just silly wolves fighting each other over useless stuff all the time.
To not feel like SpongeBob going into Sandy's house that one time and he's just like drying out because he won't ask Sandy for water.
Literally.
God, fuck. Anyways, damn, what a life to
Anyway,
just be
so
Joe
that's
Schmo in
that's
Barcelona.
my fun internet investigation that I stumbled upon today.
Truly, like actual current events.
Yeah,
Thank
serious
you.
news, breaking the news right here. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh man, I'm doing all right. I feel like a fucking TikTok influencer right now. I got a new sweater and a new pair of joggers from Target because they were on clearance.
Hello.
But I didn't realize this when I bought them because my phone's always on dark mode, but they're a matching set. And they're soft
glamour.
as fuck, and I feel like I could go, I don't know, plank on something, and I'd be like super famous right now. Anyways, I'm doing okay. I recently got back into coloring digitally on my iPad.
Ooh, very fun.
And just as a way to, like reduce the worms that I have in my brain.
Yeah.
And pretend like, oh, I'm using my technology, but I'm like not on social media right now.
Yeah.
And so the coloring app I've been using is called, this is not sponsored, but hey, give me money.
Hello.
It's called Lake, and it's
Okay.
this wild pairing where like I love to use my iPad to color because I'm 5, but I can't be trusted with markers and paper.
Yeah.
Because I'll drop them everywhere. So my iPad works great, but it's called Lake, and it has all these like digital coloring pages, but it has my favorite thing where it, you like, when you open it, it says like, hey, what's your mood right now?
Ooh,
And you
little
enter your mood, and it makes a color palette based on your mood. I know. And then it gives you the coloring pages. And so you can like look back and be like, oh,
so fun.
it's honestly fucked up and I love it.
Yeah.
But it reminded
You can really
me,
psychoanalyze yourself with
truly,
beautiful
I'm just gonna
paintings.
like send these photos. I'm just gonna share it with my therapist and give it as like my mood tracker. It's super helpful. But it reminded me of this thing that I always wanted when I was a kid,
Yeah.
but I never got.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, and I didn't realize that it had a fucking like long ass name, but it was this kind of like what kids have now. You can just buy at like
Kids
a
these
grocery
days.
store. Kids these days don't know how good they have it. It reminded me a lot of the like nowadays when you can go to Crayola and they have those like pretend pens and you draw on them and it just like magically makes that on the paper. But back in my day, that was the fucking, it was called the titular Marvin's Magic color board. And whenever this commercial came on when I was a kid, I remember like begging whoever was around me to be like, please, this is the titular Marvin's Magic drawing board. I want it so badly.
Yeah.
Because it didn't just have the pens, but it had this like, I remember the commercials, it had this like almost broom looking thing.
Yeah.
And it would like sweep and make rainbows. And I was like, oh my God.
It like literally looked like magic on the commercial. It was
It
like it
did.
moved in and like all the things like swirled together and you're like, what?
And it literally, and that's one of the things, right? Like before Crayola hopped on and killed this company, essentially, is like it didn't require any colors. Like it didn't spill. It didn't require. It didn't make any messes. And so I was like, dope. Because I thought all the time when I was younger, I was like, I'm clumsy, and it's like, well, yes, and. But I was like, how does it do this? I don't understand. Now I'm like, I still don't understand. Yeah. But I want one of these so bad. And the ones that Crayola have are cool, but they're not the same.
It's not the same vibe at all.
No, because it's not in a board.
Yeah, I want an easel. I want a beautiful little board that makes magic for me and colors.
I do.
And God, do you remember blow pens?
Oh my God.
Talk about things from that era that look so tantalizing.
Oh my God.
Probably in practice now feels very messy, feels not fun. But the way those kids were doing it, I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
There's so many infomercials like this. Like, I remember there was one when I was younger too that used to have these like peg looking things that you would push in, and it was like a light board, and it was essentially the same thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like all of these things probably were made out of like asbestos and lead and like stuff that we're going to, it's a good thing that like we don't have access to them anymore.
Right.
But
we may not have survived if we had them as kids.
But man, they just, looking at it, it reminded me so much of like, man, my iPad's cool, but it's not the same.
I want to feel it in my hands. I want to feel magic.
I do. I want an easel. So that's my happy thing.
That's beautiful. I love that. I'm very excited for your artistic journey. And also your own like psychosis throughout it. Very fun.
Yes. It's been great to have something to do in my hands. Because usually like when I'm watching TV and stuff, I'm also just like on Twitter. Which is not a good It's something, but it's not good for my brain. And so coloring is a great way to have something to do.
Oh yeah,
which is
just something. Keep your
just
mind.
just a little something.
Yeah.
Speaking of current events here, we have some that are, I would argue, not as important as what you have shared.
Sure.
But are related to our content here. Would you like to share our first one? Our friends of the family
Absolutely.
news?
Yeah, we got a beautiful feature from friend of the podcast, friend of the
I
show.
think Spooks wants to share.
And
He's very
Spooks-
excited.
Spooks is a stan of this writer, just like we are.
Yes.
It's our good friend Abby Montiel. She's back. She's killing it. And she's got a piece for Decider.
Hell
about
yes.
Vampires taking over television.
Abby is doing the work that we need in journalism.
Absolutely.
Right now.
No longer will we have to rely on Screen Rant. Or
Nope.
we can have a trusted, reliable source for this cutting edge vampire media news. And I appreciate it.
I love it so much. This is one, Abby, thank you.
Yes.
For doing
Thank you
the
for your
Lord's
service. Always. Yes.
But I appreciate just this roundup of all of the goods, all
Yeah.
of our favorites.
Because there really is a lot going on. Like, I guess I didn't realize I've been consuming all these things that she's talking about, but like, I haven't really synthesized that as like, oh, we're really having a vampire moment, you know?
We are.
But like, yeah, because I've been
All of
watching
you,
that.
you're welcome.
All of you, thank you. We did this. Lest you forget, we did the Twilight Renaissance. It's us.
Yeah.
But like Midnight Mass, which we've talked about at length on the bonus Jonas, if you want to listen to that.
We have.
But
Night
also, I've been
Ass.
watching that American Horror Story thing because for some reason Ryan Murphy's got me in a fucking chokehold. I hate it.
I do know that about you.
I hate it. I can't stop. Like, you know, I have my limits with him. And they're always broken. They're always not respected. But I have been watching, and it is incredibly vampire forward, you know.
Right. I haven't watched any of American Horror Story.
Ever? What?
I think I saw the first episode of like the first season.
Okay, then you're probably,
'Cause I just-
it will only go downhill from there. So you got out at a good time.
Because all I remember, I think I blocked out most of that episode. I distinctly remember a moment where a woman who was older turned young and tried to seduce a man. And I was like, oh. And then I don't think I continued.
Yeah,
From
that's
there.
fair. That's fair.
I will say that, Abby, I appreciate you in this work, and I'm happy to give Decider money by having my ads off on my internet. What I will say, and I know that this is not your fault, Abby, but I am getting ads right now on this website for Clint Eastwood's Cry Macho, and I do find that homophobic.
That is a hate crime.
Not just for the name of that movie, but Clint Eastwood personally.
Yes. Yeah.
So if
many
you
fronts
could,
of homophobia.
if you could just like pass that along to
Yeah.
your people, that would be great.
Thank you. But yeah, this is a
Thank
great
you.
roundup, and it really kind of illuminates why we're still interested in vampires, you know.
Exactly,
They're
like-
just cool and fun to watch, and always there's so many different ways to do it, you know.
There, in life and in love
Ooh,
and in vampires, there's a lot of different ways to do it.
thank
And I think
you.
that the
New T-shirt dropping soon.
and I think that we've seen that not just with Twilight, but with Night Mass,
Night ass.
Night Ass, and as we're gonna see here with Vampire Academy, which I now know that Lissa hates that that it's called Vampire Academy. That there's so many different takes on the lore that is vampires that like there's always content for us to cover.
Yeah.
And then if you fucking expand that to what we have, which is cryptids and shitty relationships, it's like we've got time forever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fuck. Speaking of shitty relationships,
Ooh. Beautiful segue.
we got some news shared with us today. Not from their people, unfortunately, but from one of the people that follows us, that You, the TV show, has been renewed. Now, if you, like myself, is like, that's interesting, because when this episode comes out, You Season 3 will have, like, just dropped.
Yeah.
Like, fucking, it's just been a couple days. But I am correct. Yes. Netflix released as of today, which is the 13th, that the show has been released and renewed for season 4.
How? Why? What?
Why? Why is a great question.
Yes, thank you.
Primarily because we've seen at this point that they've kind of diverted off of Carolyn's text.
Yeah, the sacred tone.
Which, fine. You can go off canon, that's fine, because we already know that text needs to kind of be diverted from. But also, why is this still at what point can you just continue to have these two killing people?
It's like, I don't even, obviously, because I haven't seen it, we haven't seen this, so we don't know what the fuck happens. But, like, what else is there to do? Even
That's what
from
I'm saying.
the end of the last season, I'm like, all right, cool. Maybe a little bit more to explore here in this dynamic, but, like, other than that, it seems like it's getting a little repetitive, you know?
Especially because the fact that, like, the last time that we on the main feed talked about You Season 2, it seemed like the consensus that we had was, like, we wanted Young Child, the one who was paid off. Why do I want to say her name was Jenny?
I thought we were talking about Paco, and I was like, oh man, I miss Paco.
No, fuck, I miss Paco too. No, the season 2's version of Paco.
Right, yes.
To come back and go for Joe's throat.
Right. Ooh,
which is far more interesting to me.
Yes.
But, like, is there a long-term plan that, like, they raise this murder baby and then murder baby kills both of them? Because I'm a little interested in that. But, like,
that might be more of a
but that's like a long-term plan.
Yeah.
So I am confused.
Yeah.
And I also don't want them to have a happy ending a la 50 Shades. That's boring to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Hopefully there is someone on the team, not Sarah Gamble, because I have seen what she's done to Supernatural. Hopefully there's someone on the team who's like, hey, so what is the plan here? Like, is for the end? But we'll see. As far as we know now, someone at least was like, yeah, season 3, so good. We gotta keep going. So that's our update. As far as now, the plan for us anyways is to review season 3 on Patreon. The show anyways, at this point anyways, the plan was not to read but that is always up to y'all, so, like, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can tell us that on Twitter or email us as well. We had someone email us this week who said they had to scroll back to, like, episode 5 to hear what our email was. And I just wanted to remind you all that Cody does a great job of putting all of our links in one concise spot.
Thank you. It is there.
There.
I appreciate the scrolling for sure, but you don't have to do that. It is in
you don't
every
have
episode for at least 150 episodes.
Yeah. And also on our Twitter, like, our link tree has it as well.
Very accurate. So if you want anything, it's probably there. So
it is there. Yes. Yeah. But we did receive a Twilight backstory.
Hell yeah.
And it is titled Paying Respects.
Ooh.
So I thought that this was very kind. This is from Justine, who, from what I can tell, seems okay with us saying their name.
Thank you, Justine.
And thank you, Justine. So Justine says, "Hi, friends. I just scrolled back to episode 5 to hear what your email is. I have been listening since 2018. When I binged your whole back catalog while building industrial lights on an assembly line."
What?
Justine, I have
I'm already hooked. I'm
literally on my fucking toes.
I'm invested.
This podcast is super important to me and has become one of my personality traits.
Sick.
Same. I was raised religious, and one night when I was in 5th grade, while my parents were at a Bible study, And all of the kids of the couples were subsequently all closed in a room to watch a movie. I found a DVD copy of Twilight. I had heard about it before, but thought it must have been bad since I heard a lot of adults saying not to read it. Our school had you get a permission slip from your parents signed before you could check them out from the library. Oh, shit. I knew my cousin had read the books and was obsessed with Alice, but from her description, they didn't seem very interesting. But seeing this DVD on the shelf of a person in a high position of my church made me reconsider that maybe this was good content. I very sincerely asked my mom if I could have permission to read these books. She agreed as long as we could read them together so she would know what was going on in the books and we could address any of the unhealthy behavior. Mood. Good. We both became addicted. Okay, well. And we're fighting over the books / begging each other to read farther so that we could be caught up. I remember Googling the closing times of all the libraries near us as my mom hurried to try to finish Eclipse in time for us to go check out Breaking Dawn. That's very pure. In the beginning, we talked about how you shouldn't date anyone that asks your parents to lie for you. Because in real life, Edward probably, had a drug problem. Well, okay. Obviously, this didn't work. And I still ended up dating horrible people. But it's the thought that counts. I ended up going to the premieres of all the next movies, but I didn't want to seem like I was too into it, so we went as part of a group that did polling on how many people were in attendance and what commercials played before the movie. Ooh. Okay. That way I wasn't, quote, going to see Twilight, but I was there for the premiere, for sure. In middle school, I ended up writing a paper on why the only good character in the books was Tyler. Stop. Because of him trying to keep Bella safe from Edward, who obviously was not a good partner, but obviously better than Jacob. I mean, come on.
Yeah, hey.
Breaking Dawn Part 1 is still my comfort movie, and I currently manage a bridal salon where the movie is referenced often as wedding inspiration.
Oh my god.
Thank you for the amazing safe space. Okay, now here's the part that I'm very excited to get your opinion on. That was my aside. Yeah. With that out of the way, I am starting a new podcast with my best friend about the book series Uglies by Scott Westerfield.
Ooh, that's so good.
Obviously, I have no idea if this is going to be a success or not, or even if I will like doing it. But I wanted to reach out since I think we might be using a similar format inspired by your podcast. I have, of course, want to honor you and tell my listeners how much I love your podcast, and that obviously I did not come up with the premise of me being a super fan of books that my friend has not read at all. It is called Pretty Committee and Uglies Podcast, if you ever want to give it a listen. Lastly, I love The Chemist, and I think you should read it. Kindest regards, Justine.
Wow.
Justine, you have lived an amazing life, first of all.
Yes, it's so much. I love it.
There's so much going on.
Yeah.
Whoa. I have never read Uglies, the Ugly series.
Yeah.
But I've heard they're amazing. People fucking love those books.
Yeah. People really, that was the boom of that YA dystopia thing,
It was.
Proto, was the blueprint.
It truly was the blueprint. So, Justine, you'll have to give us an update on how that's going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that sounds amazing. But I do have some questions, what lights? What were you doing? And also, now you work in a salon, a bridal salon? Hello?
I'm so invested in your life story.
Yeah, you have lived an amazing life. So, first of, wow. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Wow. I am so excited to talk about this movie with you.
Yes. Yes. Cinema. Classic.
When you kept referencing this movie, A Vampire Academy.
Yes.
You kept talking about this cast.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea.
Yeah.
What I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
And this is my bad, because you did say all along, like, Zoe Dutch is in this.
Yes.
Anya Taylor-Joy's in this.
Yeah.
Claire Foy's in this.
Yeah.
My problem is when you said Zoe Dutch, my head, there was no thought, no image, no
Head
nothing.
empty. Yeah, sure.
Head empty.
Yeah.
What I did not realize is that of course, is Ryan Murphy's titular Infinity Jackson from The Politician.
Oh, I had no idea she's a politician.
Which is where
Yeah.
I primarily know her from.
Sure,
Is
yeah.
the fucking season 2 of The Politician, where she pretends to be, I mean, fucking spoilers. She pretends to be a girl with cancer who's like dying.
Oh my god.
She's like, it's this like not so subtle reference to, oh god, I'm forgetting her name. The girl who was, oh god, this is gonna piss me off.
Let's get that typing sound.
It's gonna
that
fucking piss me off. Oh, Gypsy Rose.
Oh, okay. Yes, gotcha.
It's a very like not subtle at all, like
Yeah.
inspired by Gypsy Rose. And so as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh my god, that's duh. Okay. Got it. So you had seen this movie before.
Yes, I had watched
How
it.
many times?
Only once before this.
Did you see it in the theater?
I don't think so. I think I saw it because I think it got dumped on Netflix pretty quickly because this movie did not do super hot.
Okay.
But I think I saw it on like a streaming service. I think.
Okay.
I don't think I went out to see it. I don't think.
Okay. When you first saw this movie, and you had read the books at
Yes.
that time,
Right.
what was your initial thoughts?
I was trying to like figure out what I was thinking of it while I was watching it this time back then. But like I really have no, like I remember reading the books and being super into them, but I feel like the movie, I think that was a few years distance from when I was reading them. So I was kind of like watching me like, hey, I knew that thing and watched it. So I think I came from like a different perspective, you know?
Right.
So I'm not sure if I like didn't like it or I was fine with it or like I have no idea. I don't think I was hot on it. I don't think I was really like, this is the best movie ever made. But I was like, this was made and this was a movie that had fun. But this time, I had so much fun watching this.
I had so much fun too.
It was truly a blast. Like, I had forgotten how fucking funny this is. And especially, like, the source material is, like, obviously very funny in aspects that we talked about. But, like, it really hones into that more and sort of the drama things, which I think is a smart move for this kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And Zoe Ditch is just so fucking funny. She's so good.
It was a great choice. I wasn't sure when I had first seen the poster. I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know that that's the greatest choice.
Yeah,
for
because like the
Rose.
marketing of it like makes it feel very Gossip Girl. It makes it feel like a very specific type of like CW, like
It does.
you know, campy kind of thing or whatever. And I remember too, like when the movie came out, they like did recovers of the first book with like the movie tie-in stuff, like of that poster.
No.
And it's like a totally different vibe than like the regular covers and the actual books and stuff. And people were like, "What is this?" You know?
It's so rough because, like, when I looked at it originally, especially when it has on there, like, from the producer of Mean Girls or something
Right.
like that, it's like, that's not the vibe of
Yeah.
the book at all.
Yes. Yeah.
But when
do you
I
remember
watched
in
it-
like the Tumblr days, sorry to talk about such a dark traumatic time, but do you remember that like really big video that someone made that was like, I re-edited Harry Potter to make it look like a cheesy high school rom-com kind of thing?
Yes.
That's
yes.
what the marketing of this felt like to me. And still kind of
100%.
feels like, you know, that's the vibe.
Absolutely. I had a blast watching this.
Yeah.
Is it good? No.
You know,
No.
must movies be good? Can't they have homoerotic subtext and text and also a great score and fun fight scenes?
Okay, listen. The
Yeah.
soundtrack of this is truly unbelievable.
Okay, but also, can I just say, did I not call that Bad Girls fucking reference like fucking weeks ago when we were reading this.
You
and that was
did.
like the first, maybe I like repressed that and that was somewhere in the filing cabinet of my brain that I just like took out back then. But I will say I will take it as a prophecy on my end.
This soundtrack is the most 2014 thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yes.
And also the audacity for them to start off with the titular "Live Fast, Die Young,
Yeah.
Bad Girls Do It Well,"
Oh yeah.
and then to not put the song on the soundtrack.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Hello?
That's fucked up. Maybe MIA was like, I do not endorse this.
Yeah, MA was like, please,
No.
no, absolutely not. First of all, the fact that it starts with that, I thought it was a joke, and I was like, that's great, I'm gonna add that to my notes. And then that was canon, that Rose was like, yes, I love this song.
Right, it
Turn
became
this
a
up.
diegetic song. It was not non-diegetic, it was diegetic. It was in the context of the movie. It's so good.
It was great. It was great. I appreciate it. Oh, it's so good. I fully was not. It's weird when I look back at my notes for this movie because one, this is very long. It's a long movie.
Yeah.
And they do, in a weird way, like follow the full book.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I think from like cover to cover.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there are things that are naturally skipped over because
Yeah.
they're not interesting for the text. But then there are also things that I feel like are spent way more time on. Like the pacing to me at times felt very weird.
Yeah, I would for sure agree with that. I feel like there was definitely some things that were like made sense to like skip over and stuff, but or also sometimes the order was different. Like
The
things
order
with, like,
was different.
Like the shopping mall situation and the prom and like those kind of things were kind of like jumbled in a little bit, or like different. I think too because like they made the focus on Lissa's situation for the most part, right?
They
And,
did.
Like, that seemed, and because of that, like we kind of got like a little less of Rose in this. Like she's definitely the main character, she's here, but like any of the dramas and stuff with her that we saw in the book don't really appear here. It's mostly like
They don't.
all of the things that Lissa is going through, like with all the omens and stuff like that, and the ramifications of those, and Rose protecting her, right? And meanwhile, Rose's story is mostly just like Dimitri and Lissa and those relationships, rather than like being like having this weird like rumors about her, like any of those kind of things that like kind of
Right.
colored her character a little more, are like not really here.
Which is a weird choice, right? Because
Yeah.
Rose is still the one who does the voiceover.
Yes.
And most importantly, at the beginning, does the PowerPoint transition and explanation of all the
Yes.
vocabulary.
It is so well done. In like the first 30 seconds, you get like everything that you need to know, which took us what, 4
Exactly.
chapters to fucking figure out like
It
all
took
the
us like
terms.
literally 50 pages. And within maybe 2 minutes of the movie, you know everything you need to know.
She literally
was
does
so
like a
pissed
little
off.
TED talk, and all the fucking terms are floating on the screen and like a white font just like dissipating on the screen. It's so funny, but like it is very concise, and I think
It
like
is.
that really helps set the scene a lot more effectively, and like what the world is and what you're about to dive into, and just get to the meat of the things in some ways, rather than like how it was in the book, where it's just kind of like sprinkled throughout with all these other personal things, and it's like, what, where, I need a glossary. I don't know what's going on.
Yes, I agree. It's also wild. First of all, I just want to give I think that the actress who played Lissa was fine.
Yeah.
She wasn't my favorite, but that's fine.
Yeah, also British, so that was a
Also
little
British. The accent was a choice.
Yeah.
I do think there was a part, and it was so small, at the beginning, but I think that this just goes to like them adding in the humor. There was a part when they were still back in Portland when Lissa had that Jimmy Carter poster on her wall. That was so fucking funny. And I
really
think that there's a lot more humor in this that you just don't really get in the book, because it's just, the book is so goddamn heavy.
Yeah, it's very dark.
It's so dark, and like so heavy, and there were so many more points of levity in this that I really appreciated.
Yeah, and
And
you
I
guys
know
like see
that-
them interact with each other in a more fun way.
You do.
You know, than we see in the book. Like, it's usually high stakes and everyone could die at any moment. It's very scary, blah, 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 which is valid, right? But, like, in this, at least when they're away, like, they have, like, a little time to, like, not always feel like they're being watched and stuff and just, like, having fun little banter
Right.
with each other. That's really cute.
And I hope that with the Peacock show that we get, they still keep the intensity, but I want some of that humor too.
Yeah.
Because
That's not
the
an
fact that
impossible mix, you know, to
it's
do.
not.
Yeah.
It absolutely isn't. Because the fact that I think actually that you need it.
Yeah.
Especially because of the fact that it shows so much of the dramatic change that Lissa ends up going through. And I think that one of the things that really I didn't like about this movie is that you don't get as drastic of a change when Lissa falls later in the movie.
Right. There's not like that arc in that it is the same way in the books, you know, or the
Right.
book.
And I don't know that you necessarily need to be as graphic, and I think that the movie did a really good job of kind of balancing that, of like, I don't know that you need to show the animal cruelty. And I don't know that you need to necessarily show the self-harm. And I think that what they did show of that was a kind of walking that line.
Right, for sure.
Especially when it comes to the self-harm. I think that the way that they did that, and again, I'm not an expert on that, but I felt like personally watching that was far less like triggering than what it could have been.
Yeah, totally.
But I think that in regards to a lot of the stuff that we saw of her came off more like, my Spooks really wants to join in on this. He has a lot of thoughts. A lot of what it came across as was her being like a quote jealous teenager, and not what it was in the book, which was this like, you know, Lissa as a dark side.
Right.
Which was a bummer.
Yeah, it's like, that's not the same. Those are not the same ways of processing these things. Like, there are reasons for these things.
And I don't know if it was like the acting. I don't know if it was the script. I don't know what it was. But it was like, it's made the second half of this suffer because you don't see that change happen as much.
Yeah, the second half of this movie feels weird compared to the first half. Like, first half feels very like it's setting things up and you're kind of like going with the flow and things are great. It's very fun and light. And then like we get the whole thing. I think a biggest difference too of this and the book is like that when Lissa kind of understands this spirit or whatever, she fucking tells everyone. Like, it's not like this like
my God, yeah,
dark secret kind of thing, which it is in the book, especially unless like with a few close trusted people or whatever. But like, she's like, what up, queen, and everyone here, I have the spirit power. And everyone's like, what? And it's like, I think this probably should be kept to yourself. This is probably for, because it also seems like on one hand I'm like, oh, maybe it's like, maybe they thought they weren't going to do more movies than this and they just want to get it one and done situation,
right?
But like, it doesn't seem like that the way they end this movie, right? Like, it seems like they're banking for something else because it looks like there are people looking out for like attacking them and attacking the school or something like that, you know, like there seems to be something building up. And it's like, so why like rush into this like very like long arc that like feels very personal and has a lot of nuance and emotion to it, and just be like, what up? Like, we figured it out. I'm not a freak. Suck it, guys.
That's okay. I'm so glad that you brought this up because the lack of secrecy in the movie really like threw me for a loop. And it started off right at the beginning.
Yeah.
One of the things that they did in the movie that ultimately I think was for the best, because if you watch this and you hadn't read the book, I think it ultimately helps you. But the way that they portray Victor in this movie is like he's a fucking like a school board member or something.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So when they come back and Lissa and Rose are like, so Dimitri brought us back, fuck this guy. I mean, he's hot, but like, fuck this guy. Yeah. And yeah, so like, what are you going to do about it? And Kurova, which is how they say it. I thought it was Kurova, but Kurova,
sure.
Who's like 27, maybe. Yeah.
Right.
I thought this woman was like 60. No, this woman's like young as fuck.
Yeah.
It's her and a couple of the other people, and then Victor's also there for whatever reason.
Sure.
And they do the like regular scene there of like explaining stuff. But then Dimitri also mentions in that conversation that they have the bond.
Right.
So it's
spills
not
the
a
beans.
secret.
Yeah.
Just says it out loud. It's not just this like thing that people think is there but don't say out loud.
Right. Yeah.
Or, you know, someone has mentioned but no one believes is real. Everyone
Right.
just like
Which is like
knows
a
is
huge point
truth.
of contention in the book and why the struggle
Yes.
is so hard for her, you know?
Yeah, and that she has to do so much research for. And then in that moment, Lissa compulses Kurova. And it's just like a thing.
Yeah, and she also doesn't feel like emotionally taxed by any of this compulsion stuff too. So it's like there are stakes clearly here, right?
Right.
Pun intended. But like they all feel like, yeah, if she's just like got a different kind of power and that's cool. And it's like, what? There's like a whole emotional journey
Yes.
that's here, that's not here. You know? What?
And they don't even mention it at all.
right.
It's so weird, especially too. And I know that this is part of the book, is that there's this weird, like, old school tradition versus, like, new technology. And they mention that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I can tell that this was very 2014 and, like, off the heels of Divergent. Because when they shoot just a little bit, they don't show any of the school scenes, like, really.
Yeah.
But when they do, all of the classes are in fucking college lecture halls.
Yeah.
And that throws me for such a loop, because when we saw in the book, the way that I imagined it was very, and I hate to bring this up again, but I imagined it like in the Harry Potter classes, where it
like
was
an
so
academy
much easier to,
setting. Right?
exactly,
Like a
where it was
formal
so
boarding
much
school
easier
kind of
to like gossip.
Right.
Whereas if you're in a college fucking lecture hall, it's so much easier for a teacher to be like, hey, don't set fire to someone. Anyways, super weird stuff.
Yeah.
Hate that.
Yeah.
Don't like it.
Ooh, I want to talk about. First of all, the fight scenes are fucking fun as shit. The choreographing,
Oh my God.
is so
Yes.
fun. When fucking Rose sets a fucking motorcycle bomb at these, like, first thing she does really in the movie, after being like, "Hey, we're in Portland,
So
or we're in
cool.
Oregon, we're chilling, whatever," and then sees two people like looking out for them and like scouting them out. Just like goes to a motorcycle, fucking like fills it with gasoline, sets it running, and lets it explode in front of them. It's like, hello.
That's why it frustrates me so much. Why even in the movie too, they invalidate her survival skills to take care of Lissa, and it's like, hello, the
Have you
first
seen
thing that she
this?
does is like, yeah, okay, maybe she can't run a mile, like,
Right.
but she knows how to divert and keep them safe. So
Right.
fuck off.
Yeah, seriously, fuck off that shit. Also, something I found really funny is when we don't get a lot of like the class kind of stuff, like you said, but like
No.
there's one shot where they're doing like training outside,
It's so cool.
It's so cool and it's so intense. They got these big like industrial like giant monkey bars that people are like climbing from and doing shit, punching each other and fighting each other. And there's this one dude, I don't remember who it was, but he's in like this fucking like hamster wheel circle guy, like the kind of things like they make like astronauts do to like make sure their gravity's right or whatever. And he's just like fucking flipping around in the circle, and it's so funny. It's like
so
pull back
funny.
and this guy's just losing his shit in this like circle. It's so good.
I'm so glad that you mentioned this, because that's like the main scene where Mason pops up, and he's not in this movie a lot.
No, he's very
Not-
tertiary into this.
I want to say he's in like maybe 3 scenes.
Yeah.
Like not like in the book, thankfully. And it's the guy, I want to say he's from like Skins or something. Like he's in something.
He does look
that
like he has a Skins vibe.
He's in something that I recognized him from. Nothing that I had fucking watched. No, not Skins. Shameless. I
yeah.
knew it was something.
Oh, and Ned's Declassified.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That guy.
2 points of reference.
Weird casting, I'll say,
Yeah.
for Mason. And while I'm on the weird casting,
Please, I love this.
Mia, weird casting.
Yes.
I don't hate
Not at
the
all what I
fucking-
pictured. Yeah.
Not at all what I pictured. Don't hate the Peter Pan haircut, but she looked scrappy as fuck.
Yeah,
like
she looked like she
she
could pick a
looked-
fight with anyone.
Yeah, she looked like she could take Rose for a fight, and that's absolutely not what Rochelle like wrote
Yeah.
on there. Also weird casting was casting Sarah Hyland as Natalie.
Okay. I'm obsessed with this because I didn't realize this until like looking this cast up and everything, but Sarah Hyland was dating Dominic Sherwood, I think around this time.
Oh my god, really?
Which is very funny. There's, I don't know if it's the same time, but they were dating at some point. And the
Okay.
ultimate flex to break up with him and go on to the best man that the Bachelor franchise has ever produced, Wells Adams, is truly the most pleasing to me.
In
I'm
my
obsessed
heart,
with
I
that
think
energy.
Wells is a ghost.
Yes.
I
That's
don't
also
think
fair.
Wells is alive.
Yeah, he just lives at the Paradise Island and just is sentenced there for the rest
Yeah,
of
I
his
think
ghostly
that-
life.
I think the island that Bachelor in Paradise is shot on is purgatory. Like, I think Wells is not
I think
allowed
that's
to leave
totally
that.
fair. Yeah. He'd just be serving drinks and doing every other odd job on that island until he's done. His sentence is done
Right.
by the Bachelor producers.
Until he's allowed to pass on to the
But
next
yeah,
realm.
Sarah Hyland as Natalie is very strange.
For several reasons.
Yes,
One,
please.
the titular reason, right, is she's busty as fuck,
Yes.
and that that compromises the dress that starts religions.
yes. Right, because
Because-
no one's allowed to have boobs like that except for
No one's
Rose.
no one's allowed to have boobs except for Rose.
Yeah, that's
And-
the law.
The main scene that we see Natalie in at the end, when she converts to Strigoi-ism,
To Scientology.
is she's got boobs, and that makes things difficult. Now, I don't hate Sarah Hyland as Natalie in general
No.
in this, because she does a great job acting, giving off very like pick me energy, which is Natalie.
Yes.
So I don't hate that. Why they thought like, oh yes, Natalie needs glasses.
Right.
Great. She's ultimately a nerd now. But it's just a very weird casting. Especially when like they did a lot of weird adjustments with the order of things, like we had mentioned, so that Natalie was always around. And again, I think this helps for folks who hadn't read the book. Like Natalie
There's a
was
lot
always
more
around
of her. Yeah.
when the when the shit always happens to Lissa. So they were like, interesting. I wonder why Natalie's around.
Right.
And the shopping thing was pushed later so that there's like a part with that computer thing where Rose ends up telling Natalie like, oh, by the way, I love fucking Dimitri. I mean, whoops, why'd I tell you that? Like stuff that it's just like
Yeah.
giving, it
Planting
makes it,
seeds. Yeah.
yeah, it makes it so clear for the people watching this movie that like Natalie is going to
Turn to
tell
the dark
Victor
side.
all of
Yeah.
this. Yeah. Which is fine for an audience member, but it's just like weird shit that if you know the book, it's like, okay, like we got it.
Yeah.
Very, very odd stuff. I will say though, as far as changes that they made, I find it very weird that no one would notice the bond between Lissa and Rose. And maybe this is why everyone knew, is because Rose's eyes glow.
Yeah. It's much more deliberate in this one. You see it
Yeah.
in her eyes.
You do see it in her eyes. That was a change that I don't hate, but I think ultimately like will
Kind of blows the
make
cover a little bit.
It does. It very much blows the cover. I didn't hate the fact that Lissa had a therapy cat in this. I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah.
I think that that's kind of cute between them. I will say the casting for Dimitri was weird.
I agree. Like,
He's
I don't
not
know-
hot.
Yeah. Thank you. I thank you for being bold and brave enough to say that. Yeah, I get he's definitely got the vibe of what they're looking for. Like,
Yeah, he's
Russian,
scary.
long hair, scary looking. leather dusters, whatever, you know, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
like, it's not as believable in the sense that like Rose would be so like smitten in this sort of
Right.
way as like a young person, a young impressionable person.
Yeah.
With this guy who also looks much older than like 24 too in this.
100%.
So like it's just like you're on the somewhat of a right track, but I don't think this was it. This was not the move.
Especially when it's like there's Dimitri, who's supposed to be this like hot god,
Right.
that Rose immediately falls for, and then there's Christian, who Lissa like is like, yeah, I'll talk to you or whatever, but I know that you don't have friends or whatever.
Yeah, you're kind of a
But
loser, so
You're a loser. When Christian is objectively the hottest guy there.
yeah, for real.
The fact that this man wouldn't have friends, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, you're a tortured soul, but you're also objectively the cutest guy around.
Especially him
Sure.
compared to Aaron too. It's like
Literally.
you leveled up with this guy, you know, just aesthetically, like
Aaron who? Okay? Anyways.
Literally,
So, interesting choice for casting on that, I will say. Odd stuff that they have going on there.
yeah.
So the fact that they moved the shopping so that Lissa and Rose are like BFFs during that
Yeah.
time, I don't necessarily hate, but I found that like odd.
Right. It does not really fit the
It
circumstances.
didn't fit necessarily. Now, did we get a great moment where Rose almost kills a fucking person in the mall because they're trying to advertise massages? Yes. So
Very good.
you know,
Very fun.
it's not the worst thing.
It's not an L all around, you know.
No, it's not the worst. I think we would be remiss if we did not talk about Professor Carp, aka Claire
Oh my
Foy.
gosh. Yeah. What happened?
This is. There's a lot happening with her character here.
Right.
Claire, her eyes seem bigger than ever, I think.
They are bulging out of her face in like the best way. I love it.
She didn't have to go so hard
Yeah.
in this, but she did, which I appreciate.
Which is weird because they wrote Ms. Carp very minutely, you know,
They
compared
did.
to that, you know, like she's always kind of just brought up in like flashbacks or little asides and stuff and being like, hey, you might need this later on, or like you might need to think about this in a minute, like that kind of thing. But Claire Foy really puts her whole pussy into this. And I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not afraid.
I'm so glad that you felt brave enough to say it.
Thank you. It's, yeah. I'll do anything for Miss
really,
Foy.
Fuck. What really pissed me off about this, though, is that, like, so Rose goes find Ocean's 11
Yes.
and
Yeah.
steals she steals all the information that Kirova has on Claire, on fucking Carp.
Yeah.
And it's very tight. It's just this big ass 3-inch binder that says Carp on it. Really locked up there.
Like everything you need to know.
Right
here.
What really pissed me off though is that like in this movie, very similarly to in the book, all of the agency is taken away from these girls.
Yeah.
But instead of it being from Lissa, the agency in this movie is taken away from Rose. Like Rose does so much investigating in the book, and it's awesome. She's discovering so much just about herself, but like in this movie in particular, everyone is just telling her stuff.
Right.
And it annoyed me because, especially when it comes to Carp, Dimitri's just like, oh yeah, let me just tell you all this information about her.
Here's everything you need to know. Yeah. Like, what?
And, like-
she's very smart. and
She is really
capable,
smart.
and that's proven. And it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
From here to here.
It's very confusing. All of the information about Carp is still true, except for
Right.
that it's essentially the middle of the movie, and then they just say spirit. Like Kristen just says it,
Right.
and it's awkward. But I mean, personally, I wish that had happened in the book.
Yeah.
It would have made things a lot easier.
a little
to
clearer
understand.
for sure. Yeah.
So maybe that was a personal revision for Michelle. So, that's fine.
Yeah.
I also didn't hate the fact that they'd made that change from the sex scene where Dimitri, like, burns Rose's dress.
Yeah, like takes it off and throws it. He's like, I want to burn it, like kind of as like a sexy joke, I thought, foolishly, and then proceeds to take it off of her and throw it into the fire.
Yeah. So we don't have to
Hello.
see her, like, save Lissa and fight for her in that dress, which
Yeah.
was nice.
Yeah.
So, but I did find it weird because my understanding when we finished the book was that, like, it wasn't going, like, the ultimate bad guy, at least for the next book, wasn't going to be Carp. Like, I thought that Carp was going to be not necessarily on Rose and Lissa's side, but, like, all of the messages that she was giving was warning Lissa
Right.
and Rose.
Of their
And the
future
way
and
that-
stuff, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, like, the raven at the end wasn't a good omen. But that was not the interpretation that the movie gave at all
Right, yeah.
at the end. The end of that was very much like, well, fuck y'all.
Uh-oh.
It was very, like, it seemed like that was a crowd of Strigoi ready to
Right.
just go after the school.
Go apeshit, yeah.
And they didn't seem that worried about, I mean, obviously, like, Natalie was still dead and they had Victor in custody, but that didn't seem to be the main, like, if they'd had another movie, that didn't seem to be their main
Yeah, for sure.
big bad there. Which is odd. It's an odd choice.
Yeah, not the one I would have concluded to.
No. And so I'm curious, and I don't know how much the Peacock show is going to go off of the canon, but it makes me curious of, like, what they do. Like,
With that, yeah.
yeah. But also, I'm just personally curious when we get next week into Frostbite, like,
Ooh.
what's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen? What's gonna go on? Shit's about to get
Yeah.
real, maybe. Probably.
Because probably, yeah, because, like, it's not like the book ended in a necessarily good place. Like, Natalie's dead, Victor's in custody. Yeah. But, like, Lissa for the moment is happy with Christian. And Rose for the moment is, like, happy, but not with Dimitri necessarily.
Right, yeah.
So it's like, what do we got? What's going on?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll find out when we start Frostbite
Hell
next
yeah.
week.
Hell.
Chapters
fucking
1 and
yeah.
2, folks.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was a mess of a movie.
But a very fun one.
It was
So.
fun. It was, I will say. So it tanked.
Yeah,
So-
so you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. I will say that from the book's standpoint, I wish that they had the fucking Olive Garden feeders like they did in the movie.
Oh god, that was so good.
I
So good.
died. That was so genius, and I wish that that is something Rochelle had in the book.
Yeah. Because little bits of joy and fun, you know.
100%. Because that's so organized. Everybody wants one of those things when you go to, in the before times anyways, when you go to, the Cheesecake Factory and you get a little old school pager.
Yeah. Classic.
Why wouldn't you have one of those in 2005,
Yeah, come on.
Anyways, we have so many of our Olive Garden beepers to thank our patrons here.
Olive Garden beepers.
What are those called? Are they buzzers? What are they?
They might be buzzers. I think they're buzzers.
Maybe they can't call them pagers legally,
Yeah, they get sued by Big Pager.
by Big Pager. Would you like to start us off?
Absolutely. Thank you to Katie Black.
Ooh. Thank you to Kylie Minty. Oh.
Thank you to Alex Dornan.
Oh.
Oh.
Thank you to Carrie Goldberg.
Ooh. Yeah.
Ooh.
Thank you to Mickey Meyer.
Ooh.
Oh.
Thank you to Rebecca Cullen.
Ooh. Yes. Yes.
Ooh.
Thank you to Mulch Gray. Mulch.
Thank you to our unofficial intern, Taylor Brown Town Lautner. Officially.
Yes.
A legal name.
Legal. Thank you.
Legal.
To Danae Swan. Ooh.
Thank you to Jasmine Anastasia.
Thank you to Cassandra Bomer.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Again, legal name. Thank you.
These are all legally binding.
All legally binding. Thank you to Megan Pattinson.
Ow! Yeah. Thank you to Cassandra O'Shea.
Ooh. Thank you to Rachel Seeker.
Ooh. Whoa, hello.
Oh, hello.
Thank you to Ashley Dragomir.
Ooh. Thank you to Alexandra Ozera.
Ooh. Yes.
Ooh.
Shout out Aaron Weber.
Ooh. Thank you to new friend of the family. Your buzzer's ringing. Clara Belikov.
Ooh.
Follow me to your table.
Yes. We'll see you soon. Thank you to Maddie Facinelli.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Thank you to Genevieve Morgan.
Thank you to, my mom, your mom, everyone's mom, Kelly Beck.
Ooh. Thank you to Sophia Salinger.
Shout out India Peach.
Ooh.
Yes.
Thank you to Laura Forty.
And last but not least, thank you to Abby Penn.
Just a soft bassoon.
It's just a fun little bassoon.
Just a soft little bassoon. I have a fan fiction here that was sent in. Thank you. By our unofficial intern, legal name, obviously, yes. Taylor Brown Town Lautner.
Hell yeah.
This, of course, was from the Danny Phantom plus Twilight crossover section.
Yeah, naturally.
Naturally. And this was written by Danny Phantom Lover 2.
Okay.
Because Danny Phantom Lover obviously was taken.
And Danny Phantom Lover 1 was taken.
Right, of course. The summary of this is as follows. Another start to a boring year in Casper High. Or is it? Sam has convinced Danny and Tucker to take an acting class with her. They figure out that the play this year is Twilight. Dun dun dun. Will Tucker get a big head when he's assigned the part of Jacob? Will sparks fly between Edward/Danny and Bella/Sam? I am going to read part of chapter 1, and I will say I didn't know there were other characters to Danny Phantom other than Danny Phantom, because I didn't watch the show.
Just a one-man show.
It was just a fucking one-person show here. All right, so bear with me here. It's another Thursday and the start of the school year in Casper High for Danny, Sam, and Tucker. Another year, but with the same school bullies, mean teachers, and another year of a boring friendship between Danny and Sam. The bell rang for 7th period, and the three friends walked into this room numbered 304, acting and film props. First days are always the hardest. The classroom was a boring color of white and had the same old wooden desks that the class before them used. There was gum stuck under the chairs, and the wood was stained with doodles done in Sharpie. I can't believe I will be in this stupid acting class for the rest of the year. How did you talk me into this, Sam? Danny said. First off, you agreed. I didn't talk you into it. Secondly, you practically do whatever you want anyways. Come on, Danny. It's not like we are going to act out those romantic chick flicks or anything, said Sam with a noticeably excited look on her face. Just then, the teacher walked in and wrote her name on the chalkboard. Hello, class. I have some big news, said the teacher, turning away from the chalkboard. This very class will be putting on a play from one of the most popular movie series of our time, shouted the teacher in excitement. Hi to you too, mumbled Tucker, as he started taking out his phone. Nobody noticed that Sam was sitting on the very edge of her seat, leaning towards the teacher in anticipation. "Class, we will be participating in the play of Twilight," screamed the teacher as she put on her happy dance. End scene.
Wow. Love a happy dance.
This fanfiction goes on for nearly 33,000 words.
Okay, so
So, if you would like to, for what it seems like, read most of Twilight from the version
perspective
of Danny Phantom,
yeah.
you are able to continue that there from, again, Danny Phantom Lover 2.
Hell yeah.
Wow. So it's, truly a shock from all of us because, again, I thought that Danny Phantom played all of the characters there. So
Naturally.
truly, it's been a learning curve for all of us there, and that's okay. Wow. We learned a lot today.
We've learned about art and cinema.
We've learned about art. We've learned about MIA. We've learned about folks just living their truth in Barcelona.
Yes.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry. Sorry to all of you who have studied abroad and are more cultured than us. And you have a week now to support your local library and get a copy of Frostbite and be ready for us next week when we talk about chapters 1 and 2. You also have a week to recruit friends to get onto the show. That way they're ready when we start this next book. So get your friends and be good.
Yeah.
With the Lord or
with
whatever.
Jesus.
With the Vampire Academy that Lissa doesn't like it to be called.
Yes.
It's St. Vladimir's. So anyways, as we like to say in the Pacific Northwest.
Get bit.
And get whipped.
Ooh.
Oh.
Into the Twilight is an Earbud Media production. You can follow us on Twitter at Into the Twilight or on TikTok at Into the Twilight Show. You can find me at Cody Corral on Twitter and Allie at Alexandria Does. And you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/Into the Twilight. We have merch, so much stuff. All those links are in the episode description. And make sure to rate and review us on your favorite podcast hosting platform. It really helps the show. Thanks. Bye.
You've been listening to Earbud Media Production. Earbud Media, audio for everyone.